It was a remake of Magnificent Seven with
We
Sean.
joined Scott Johnson's reminiscence of TV
remake,
shows shot in Utah already in progress.
Magnificent Seven.
They did Troll 2 here, and there was just a period there, 80s through 90s, where a lot of Utah tax breaks were happening, and now that's not true. So everyone goes to Atlanta now.
Atlanta eventually will realize, wait a minute, we're not getting all the money we thought we would get. We're going to get rid of those tax breaks, and then they'll be like in St. Louis or something.
Or Georgia pays out a lot.
They'll just settle for
because New Mexico did it too. There's a lot of stuff being shot in New Mexico because they started providing.
Yeah, but they're running into the same issue like Utah. It's like you don't get the money back. The idea, of course, is that you a self-sustaining enterprise, like you have enough studios or whatever that you can continually run.
Well, because the one that does work is Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver.
Like, but Vancouver has been going long enough that there are now jobs in Vancouver for that.
Yes and no.
There is an infrastructure up there. There are actors, there are shooters, there are studios and edits.
But there's still tax breaks related to that industry that they get back, which is why. Yeah. So
I'm saying it worked in creating jobs. That's
yes. Okay. But the argument could be. We'll save it for later.
There are so many arguments.
There's an east meets west that just
for every east there's a west for it to meet.
I mean, is there really if you took away those tax breaks, the refund that the province
gets? Oh sure, no, I wasn't saying it worked for Vancouver. I said that very loosely. I understand. I didn't mean it worked for Vancouver in that they're making loads of money. I meant that like the jobs thing almost never works out, but that is the one part of the Vancouver situation that seems to have worked.
Well, they lucked out. They're in the same time zone.
Yeah, they didn't. I think that was by design. Like, I don't think
that was.
They didn't just spin a wheel and go, "Oh, look."
Well, like the first ones they did were X-Files and 21 Jump Street.
Yeah. Oh, was X-Files one of the first? I didn't realize that.
Which is why every place they go to in the first 5 seasons of X-Files all looks rady.
No, I remember that.
It's like, hey, isn't that the same tree we saw in Stargate?
Well, and all the CW shows are set in Vancouver, which is hilarious because they're all supposed to be in different cities.
Yes.
So with the Flash is on Robson Street, it looks like the same street that the Arrow is on, but he's in Central City and Arrow is in Star City.
They were just designed during the same period with the same architects.
Right. That's what it is, right?
Just like when everything used to look like Southern California.
All right, let's get this show on the road, shall we, Scott Johnson?
I think we should. Why not?
Here we go.
Great idea.
Wait, you gave me control, right? Just real quick.
I did. Do you still have it?
Control.
Yes, got it.
All right, here we go. Daily Tech News. All right, here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, July 20th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Scott Johnson is back. How have you been, Scott? I hear it's hot where you are in Utah.
It's 99 degrees. A few minutes ago, I told you it was 97, and we're talking Fahrenheit, all you people with the space points and your weird measurement system.
That's like above 30 so for the rest of the world.
37 or something for you Celsius folks. But, yeah, it's nice and warm here. It's great. The air conditioner's blowing on me. We got a show to do. There's technology in the wind. It's exciting, man.
It's the hottest June on record since the 1880s, by the way, in the United States.
True everywhere, right? Like I'm hearing everyone in states that don't.
Spain has a horrible heat wave going on. It's no joke out there, folks. Keep cool, stay safe. Yep. Facebook Messenger has become the third of the company's apps to pass the 1 billion user mark. Apple released new betas of macOS and iOS 10, and now here are some more top stories. Twitter said Tuesday, people should be able to express diverse opinions and beliefs on Twitter. This is a quote from them, by the way. But no one deserves to be subjected to targeted abuse online, and our rules prohibit inciting or engaging in the targeted abuse or harassment of others. Over the past 48 hours in particular, we've seen an uptick in the number of accounts violating these policies and have taken enforcement actions against these accounts. This comes in the wake of Leslie Jones' posts about being harassed and sharing examples of racist posts against her. Breitbart tech editor Milo Yiannopoulos says his account @Nero is one of the suspended accounts, and Milo told Breitbart, "This is the end for Twitter. Anyone who cares about free speech has been sent a clear message. You are not welcome on Twitter."
I mean, there's all sorts of directions we could go with this, but I think the more interesting one in the context of this show for me anyway, is Twitter's seeming inability to have a standard response or a set of guidelines that work across the board. And maybe that's impossible. And so anything they do will either look like cherry picking, like they're doing too much, or they're not doing enough. And they are at a stage I think of their lifespan where this is the service everybody uses to say the loudest things. People read the shorter thing, and Twitter provides the shorter format, and you're going to get your message out in a much more punctuated way than you are with a giant, 4-page thing on Facebook with truncated pages and everything else. This is kind of the format for that. So if they're the platform for that, they've got to get their heads around this before some of this stuff blows up in their face. As outside of these specific allegations, these specific bannings, and so on, at the end of the day, my opinion is they're a company. They're going to do what they're going to do, either poorly or well. And I don't know that it actually hinders anyone's actual free speech, but you could make an argument that a platform of this size is a sizable platform for people's public speech. So I don't know. There's a lot of nuance to this. Everybody wants to make it very black and white, but pretty complicated mess.
Yeah, it's interesting to say, like, because it is not a free speech issue in the constitutional sense. The Twitter is not constitutionally protected speech. Twitter is a private company, and they can decide whom to let on their platform or not, and you can decide whether to support their business or not based on those policies. But there is a too big to censor aspect of it that you're pointing out, Scott, which is like, yeah, but if a platform is this dominant, should it, is it a good idea for it to get in the business of deciding what is acceptable speech or not? And that is not a unique problem for Twitter. We talked about this quite a bit with Patrick Beja yesterday. It is a problem that forums have been wrestling with forever. I remember when a guy was coming onto one of my forums at Civilian News back in the 90s, and he was posting about NAMBLA. I'll let you look that up for yourself if you want to know why I removed those posts. And he started saying, hey, this is freedom of speech. You're removing my posts. And I'm like, I have a free place for people to post. I don't pre-certify what you're going to post, but it's my forum. And at a certain point, if I'm uncomfortable with what you're posting, I get to choose to remove you, and you get to decide whether to go or not. That said, at the same point, I was questioning myself, like, okay, I don't question that I should remove those posts, but what are the rules if I have an idealistic belief to allow as much open engagement as possible? And that's what we're talking about when you say it's very nuanced, which is there are things we can all look at and agree that's not okay. You shouldn't be able to threaten someone's life without consequence. And there are things that other people agree are entirely okay. Like, well, that's just a joke. And we all know that's just a joke. But in the between, who gets to decide what's over the line and what's not? Well, you can avoid the whole debate and say, well, Twitter does. It's their platform. They get to decide, and you can decide whether to participate or not. Well, like I just did a few minutes ago. But if I'm advising one of these companies, or if I'm a user of one of these companies, what do I want them to do? That's the part that I don't think anybody has really nailed.
And plus that idea is a scaling problem. Like with you in a small forum, or in many cases, I've had similar experiences in the forum that I still run, where I've had to push somebody out of there because of something they were doing or saying, or had moderators do the same. You're talking about a problem that maybe affects hundreds, sometimes thousands of people, but not multitudes of millions of people the way that Twitter does. And I think that when you get to that scale, questions are different. Who decides, how is it decided, and all of that is a very different thing. It also is a big economic thing. It's a big impact on lots of things. If Twitter does the right move or wrong move, or if users react in a certain way, it affects stock prices, affects stockholders, it affects the economy. So it scales in a funny way from you and me in our little forums, and our decision there about what is morally the right thing to do versus what happens on this much larger scale. And that's really hard for them to grapple with, I think.
Yeah.
But also, if I just keep coming back to this scenario, Tom, if I'm in my house and I'm inviting people in to hang out, and one of them decides he wants to, pee all over the couch, and I kick him out, I don't think he gets to claim that, well, you've ruined my freedom of expression inside the house.
Sure. On the other hand,
my couch, get out of my house.
What if he just starts throwing food on the floor, and you decide, that whatever, I can clean it up later. It's not a big deal. It's not worth getting in a fight over. And someone else who's a guest in your house says, hey, stop him from throwing food on the floor. I don't like it.
Yeah.
How do you decide whether you're like, well, okay, I may not have minded this at first, but they have a point. It's making them uncomfortable. I should stop it. Or when do you say, like, hey, it's my house. He can throw food on the floor if I let him, and you can leave the house if you want.
Yeah, and literally, if you go on Twitter at any given time and do some keyword searches, you will find the definition of double standard everywhere. There are so much hateful, mean things being said constantly on Twitter that are not getting noticed because it isn't high-profile people tossing mud back and forth. And so it's very easy to get into that whole swing of things and go, well, I guess they're only picking and choosing based on how popular you are. Like, those kinds of arguments are happening. Like, the whole thing is just a mess. And I just think that the only way you get to the bottom of it, because Twitter holds the keys, is for them to say, here is our standard. We will now have a technological, algorithmic, or whatever way of enforcing it, and that's how it's going to be from here on out. People aren't going to like that. People may love that, but it's the only way to do it. What else is there? Otherwise, it's just nothing. Don't do anything. So people are getting...
Well, there was a suggestion being thrown around yesterday that perhaps there should just be more moderators hired. It's expensive, but maybe a more managed community would help.
And maybe there's no way around that.
And frankly, folks, it is very easy to sit in your armchair like we are right now and tell Twitter what you think they should do, or tell other people what you think they should or shouldn't do. But you also have control over what you do. And that could be deciding to leave Twitter. It could be deciding to be a positive force on Twitter and tell people good things and try to balance out those sorts of things. One of the biggest issues with hate and trolls is that their voices drown out everyone else. So I'm far from saying that's the solution, but that also doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, or you could do like me and make a bad joke about freeing Milo Ventimiglia, who is an actor on the show Heroes, which some people didn't appreciate.
Free him from having to have been in Heroes?
I guess.
Is that what you were supporting?
I like the idea that they both had Milo as their first names and complicated last names.
Sure. No, I get it. Yeah.
Dad joke kind of thing to do, and there are even people mad at me for that.
Look, maybe I made a joke about the fact that we already closed all the borders and all we have is Barnes & Noble left the other night. Maybe I'm guilty of the same thing, Scott. Maybe.
I missed that. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's fantastic. Speaking my language, man. All right, where are we? Oh, Niantic. Let's get back to some Pokemon Go news, if you don't mind. They delayed the launch of Pokemon Go in Japan yesterday. The cancellation came from or after emails from McDonald's Japan leaked on the internet in places like the forum 2CH and the photo hosting service Imager, detailing the launch time and date. Niantic feared launching the game as planned would overload servers and crash the game. John Russell on tech.
Heavens, we wouldn't want that to happen. Sorry.
No. Heavens, no. You know, can you imagine Pokemon Go where the servers are down and you can't do anything? How weird would that be?
Right.
Oh, wait, that's how it is all the time for me. John Russell at TechCrunch reports that sources say the revised launch is imminent. Meanwhile, Reuters reports AT&T, GameStop, and Radio Shack all report a rise in sales of mobile chargers since the Pokemon Go went live on July 6th. I can also confirm we went to a GameStop and bought a big Pokemon backpack, which is kind of cool. For no other reason, just that it looked cool. Looks like a big Pokeball on your back. Anyway, GameStop has also seen a 115% increase in sales of Pokemon-related collectibles.
Like Pokemon backpacks, for instance.
Yeah, and so, in other words, Pokemon Go, this is how you know when something was an actual phenomenon, when many other markets are affected. There's a trickle-down effect across the board from its impact, and it continues. So anyway, Japan, sorry, you're going to have to wait a little bit, but I'm sure it'll be soon.
One of the things that's going on there, if you don't realize, and we mentioned it previously on DTNS, is McDonald's is sponsoring Pokestops. So there will be, I'm sorry, not even Pokestops, gyms will be in all, maybe, I don't know if it's all the McDonald's, but many of the McDonald's, so that people will come into the McDonald's to train their creatures in the gym and then hopefully buy some hamburgers or whatever.
I guarantee you McDonald's will make millions of dollars from this. This will be enormous. If I had a place where I go in my corner gym over here by this place that we call Soda Row near me, if there was a McDonald's on that corner, I would buy a McDouble and hang out and eat.
Yeah, there's a gym by a Taco Bell near me. It's not a good idea. And also don't forget, Japan is already mad enough that they don't have this game yet. that they launched behind other countries in the world. So I think Niantic is extra sensitive that they want to time this right so that the servers can handle it, and that's as it should be.
Yeah, good luck, guys. You'll be catching Pidgeymons or whatever before you know it.
Eevee in the alley is what the UPS store guy said to me yesterday when he noticed Pokemon Go. Always fun. Yeah. Facebook's Connectivity Lab has published a researcher paper describing a detector that could use lasers to deliver wireless internet. The problem with laser internet, which has been developed before, is that the beam spreads out as it travels, and you need a small detector to be able to get high speed. So you have to use a focusing lens to bring the laser back into focus. That requires more precision on the part of the sender and receiver and just makes things difficult. So instead of a lens to refocus the beam, this new system from Facebook's Connectivity Lab uses a bundle of plastic optical fibers that can catch the wide beam and funnel it down to a photodiode. That means you can have a little more fudge. You don't have to have exact precision and hit that lens at exactly the right place. You got all these fibers. The fibers absorb blue light and emit green within a 2 nanosecond turnaround time. The light bulb shaped sensors mean it works with a moving mobile transmitter like a so-called laser drone. And Connectivity Lab, lo and behold, is developing a solar-powered UAV to deliver internet access. So these two are definitely working together. The team was able to transmit data at 2.1 gigabits per second and hopes with some optimized materials, including some infrared instead of blue transmission, they could raise that to 10 gigabits per second.
I love this. It's basically the solution like putting multiple drains in a big communal shower. You got to capture all that water somehow. So you may as well just put them all.
Watching a lot of Orange is the New Black lately, have we?
Or had a rough time in high school. I don't know which, but one way or the other, this is some of the coolest sounding technology I've ever heard of. This sounds like magic to me in a way. Like I remember a while back, and I know it's commonplace now in a lot of hotels and things, but the idea of internet piping through your electrical system seemed like
home PNA. I remember that.
Very cool.
And some people still swear by it.
Yeah, and when we go to we have a timeshare in Vegas, and when we go there, that's what they give us. They give us this modem, plugs into the wall, and boom, we have internet for as long as we're there, and it works really great. It's fast and reliable and all that. That seemed like crazy town to me. Now that's like, oh, that's just the thing you do. But the idea of shooting this stuff as lasers across to endpoints and somehow giving you up to 10 gigabits per second internet is bonkers to me. So bring it on. I'm ready. Sounds awesome.
Yeah, and if you don't realize this, we kind of assume a lot of you do know this already. Facebook's Internet.org organization wants to bring the internet to underserved areas, and so the Connectivity Lab's laser drones would be one way of providing internet in rural areas where it's too expensive to run the infrastructure out there. You could just fly a drone that can connect and then beam lasers down to a base station and provide internet connectivity to a rural village, perhaps. So
it'd take 10 megabits per second. It wouldn't even have to be gigabits. That's how cool I think this is. Give me even the crappy version now. I think it sounds really, really rad.
Yeah, and the fact that they could maybe do 10 gigabits per second and just leapfrog everybody else is mind-blowing.
It's ridiculous. Tuesday, a judge in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro state ordered WhatsApp. You're familiar with them. They wanted them blocked for failing to turn over data in a criminal case. WhatsApp insists it doesn't have access to that stuff because that's how encryption works. It goes out, it's encrypted, you can't get it back again. Hours later, the Chief Justice of Brazil's Supreme Court, Ricardo Lewandowski, overturned the decision, saying the ban, quote, apparently violates the fundamental right of freedom of expression and communication, unquote. And this is the third time WhatsApp has been banned and has been unbanned on appeal. Justice Minister Alexandre de Moraes says that the government is drafting a bill regulating judicial access to digital data in criminal investigations. But encryption's encryption, dude. Like
WhatsApp keeps saying the messages are encrypted on the user's device. We don't have access, and the judges get really angry. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday when the news first broke with Patrick, that they must be interpreting the law to say, well, we don't care if you say you can't. The law says you have to anyway, so you shouldn't have designed your system that way. And the Attorney General in Brazil, thankfully, is saying that's a misinterpretation of that law. We are going to pass a new regulation that will clear this up.
But is anyone worried that the new regulations would essentially say if you're going to make a service like this, or I guess they can't do it to existing ones, but if you want to make a new chat app and compete in that space, you're going to have to not have encrypted data?
No, I mean, unless you just think they're all lying, which many of you do, no matter who they are, they're saying we need to draft a bill to stop this from happening. The Attorney General says, no, this is wrong. This shouldn't be happening. WhatsApp shouldn't have to be banned constantly. So what they're saying is the current law is being interpreted that way that you're saying, Scott, and we want to stop that. We want to make it so that, if it's encrypted end to end, that's fine, and the company shouldn't get in trouble for that.
Yeah, and hopefully no more court cases where they demand it and then are told once again that, hey, it's encrypted.
Yeah, right. Microsoft reported their revenue yesterday, $20.6 billion in earnings of 39 cents a share, well above expectations is the part that people need to be aware of. Microsoft doing very well. $20.6 billion compared to revenue of $22.2 billion last year, but this year it's an earning of 39 cents a share, and last year they lost 40 cents a share, dragged down by losses connected to the acquisition of Nokia. And remember, they just spent a lot acquiring LinkedIn. So they're acquiring things, and yet revenue turning around. Revenue in the intelligent cloud business rose 7%, but the star of that show is Microsoft Azure, which is their hybrid cloud technology, which rose 102% year over year. The productivity and business department grew 5% year over year, reporting 23.1 million Office 365 subscribers, and an announcement that Microsoft Dynamics accounting and sales product lines are going to combine into one Dynamics 365 brand. Dynamics has about 10 million customers. Personal computing revenue fell 4%, partly because of the fact that Windows 10 is free, partly because phone revenue was down 71%. But the bright spot was Surface devices. Revenue in the Surface devices section was up 9% over the last quarter. And finally, Xbox Live reports 49 million monthly active users.
Not bad. That's across 360 and everything, though, right? I assume.
Xbox Live, yeah, not limited to
not limited to platform, right? What's interesting about this is I just feel like I'm watching Microsoft slowly morph into IBM, and by that you're talking about the greatest gains in areas that I think average consumers do not know what's happening with Azure. They've never heard of Microsoft Dynamics accounting. This stuff to them is completely French. No offense, Patrick, but yet these are the big growth areas, and so I just wonder over the years if we're going to see them slowly continue to morph into a company more like IBM, where they sell off more consumer division stuff, maybe focus on one or two that are doing well for them, give Xbox one more big try next generation or something. But in the end, they end up being more of this big services company that's behind the scenes and powers much of corporate world and not so much consumer demand. That'll be interesting, I think.
Yeah, there's several different directions they're going with, and Tinvek asked a good question. He's like, wait a minute, those Nokia losses were written down, right? They were just writing down the cost of buying Nokia, and yes, that is correct. So a year ago, they were just giving up and writing down an acquisition. All I was saying is, and this quarter, they're spending a lot on a new acquisition. How is LinkedIn's acquisition going to work out? It's probably going to roll into Microsoft Dynamics, which they're trying to make simpler and more streamlined. But the idea of saying, oh, like I have my CRM system for context and now connected to LinkedIn and can get all of that information, that's pretty compelling, which could be good for LinkedIn, which may be stagnating a little bit depending on who you ask, and certainly would be a jolt in the arm for Dynamics. And again, cloud services, right? There's the intelligent cloud with Microsoft Azure and all of that sort of thing, which is taking off for Microsoft. But there's also this bet that not everybody was sure about with Microsoft Office becoming a subscription program that seems to be taking off very well as well.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add, I like names, you're aware of that. Microsoft Dynamics, if you didn't know the name Microsoft, sounds like a fictional evil corporation that people are trying to get the secret plans from or something.
What are you trying to say about General Dynamics?
It's the Dynamics part. That's what's throwing me over the fence.
Well, General Dynamics is a real military contractor in the St. Louis area that I grew up with. And so every time I'd see one of those TV shows or movies that would say such and such Dynamics, I'm like, oh, like General Dynamics, except they're evil.
It would totally fit with, Skynet and all the other ones we think about when it comes to this. Google, a name that will probably always sound a little goofy, no matter how evil they ever get. Has no offense to Google lovers. I love Google. I was just kidding. It was a joke, play on words. Google has used Google. They've used machine learning algorithms.
Please don't kill him. Google machine learning algorithm.
That sounds like the company now. From its DeepMind division to cut energy consumption in its data centers by a whopping 15%. That's actually pretty sizable. Its real-time adaptive system also cut the cost of cooling by 40%. That's huge, actually. A white paper on the system will come from the DeepMind in 6 weeks. Google believes it could also work well in large manufacturing facilities or even energy grids, which is kind of a cool idea. Google intends to roll the system out in its own data centers by the end of the year.
So this is a new business for Google, and it's a new way to leverage what they're getting out of DeepMind to say, all right, let's put this algorithm to work on the bottom line. Everybody's trying to figure out how to save money on energy with data centers. Facebook's doing some great work in this area as well. So, and Apple's always touting its greenness in its data centers. So cutting the power cost is pretty impressive, and having an adaptive system with machine learning that could just look at how things are used and be able to change the system to save money is not only great for Google, but Google can rent that out, right?
Yep.
That's what they're saying. Like, hey, power grids, hey, manufacturers, wouldn't you like to save a little money on your power bill? We can help you with that.
Yeah, and it reminds me a little bit of the buyback power thing that Apple was talking about with their new facility and all their solar stuff. And I like it when big companies with the biggest market caps decide to figure out ways of improving in these pretty sizable ways, and if they can squeeze it into also a business plan, hats off to the smartest people there, because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and one of the other reasons I think this story is getting a little more take up, and one of the reasons I like it, is it's machine learning, not doing something impressive like playing Go, or doing something that makes everybody make all the Terminator jokes. It's something that's like got a real world tangible thing that we can all understand, which is saving money on energy. So.
Yep.
Hey, thanks to everybody who submits stories, participates in our subreddit. You guys are the best. We love having your suggestions for things to talk about. Motang actually suggested today's main discussion topic. We got stuff in there from ICU, AU Tiger fans in there a couple of times today. MacWin UXIT, OG Ref, Abatuela Condolce, another J Martin, and more. Get in there and join them. If nothing else, just do some voting. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. That's our top stories. And let's get to this Modern Farmer article. They have a write-up on a growing movement in Nebraska by farmers to get the right to repair their own tractors. Now, it's not just farmers in Nebraska that care about this, but there's a little momentum going on there. If you don't know, we've talked about this on the show before. Digital rights management lockdown protects software on tractors from being tampered with. That means that if a farmer wants to repair his software on the tractor, and a lot of times knowing what's wrong with your tractor means accessing the software, you have to go to a certified dealer and get it repaired, which can take time, which farmers don't have a lot of sometimes, or you have to break the law. And if you want to fix it yourself, you would have to circumvent copyright protection and thus violate the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Even if you want to take it to an independent repair shop that's not from the manufacturer or approved by the manufacturer, you'd have to break the law. They'd have to break the law. Now, exceptions can be made to the DMCA. We've seen that happen before for, say, unlocking cell phones at one time. The Library of Congress gave an exception, said, yes, you need to be able to unlock your cell phone, so you get to circumvent copyright protection in that case. There have been people push for an exemption for repairing tractors. We discussed a 2015 letter to the U.S. Copyright Office by John Deere that argued that, no, you shouldn't give them exemptions because they don't own their tractors. In the words of John Deere, they purchased, quote, an implied license for the life of the vehicle to operate the vehicle.
What?
So that tractor, 8 years. We talked about that on DTNS as well.
I own my phone less than they own their tractors, then, is what you're telling me, even though I can unlock my phone.
Yes-ish.
Okay.
Yeah. No, the terms of use are pretty bad on your phone to the point of this. But John Deere just came out in this letter to the U.S. Copyright Office and said, oh, no, they don't own the tractor. They own a license to operate the tractor. Anyway, many are lobbying for laws to force manufacturers to make diagnostic tools available to repair shops and owners. We've talked before about the movement in New York to have a right to repair bill for phones, particularly iPhones and Apple products, which sometimes can violate your warranty, sometimes can cause problems if you try to repair things yourself. There have been all kinds of controversies about that. So the Nebraska Fair Repair Bill has been referred to the Agriculture Committee for study over the summer. It lost a little bit of momentum in the spring, but they're going to try to get it reintroduced in the autumn. Nebraska Farm Bureau is right now neutral, hasn't taken a stance yet. And the reason for that is some of the members don't want to hurt the dealerships. They're saying, look, equipment sales isn't big right now. A lot of these dealerships only get their money from repairs. If you take away their monopoly on that, they might go out of business, and we'd have to drive even farther to get our tractors at all. And there's some people saying, well, what if the software on a tractor is modified by the user and then they sell it and it doesn't work very well?
Yeah, what a mess. Is it weird that I'm also feeling a little nostalgic for stories like this where Legislation isn't necessarily about who hates who and who should protect who and all this other stuff, and it's just about a tractor and whether a guy owns it or not. Like, there's something I like about that. That's
it's salt of the earth, right? Because it's about farming, but at the same time, it has implications for anybody who uses devices these days that have become more and more complex to repair, and more restrictive terms of use over what you can do to repair them.
Yeah, and also then, so I don't usually like using the word slippery slope or the term slippery slope, but it got me to thinking about this washer I just purchased. We had to buy a new washer. The old one died. Been around forever, so we got a new one. And the idea that I couldn't go in there and check for myself why I think that weird noise is happening, or couldn't replace the heating element on my own, is bothersome to me. I mean, it may be that I want someone else to do it. I want their expertise or whatever. But the idea that I would be forced to do that, or I would be breaking the law if I didn't, breaking warranty is one thing, but breaking the law, that's different, right? Yeah. So me breaking my iPhone open and saying I'm going to add a thing to this and mod this deal, and it breaks the warranty. Fine, I know what that is. I understand that. That's a company who made me do that. But if Apple said no, that's illegal, that's like pulling a tag off.
Unauthorized access. I mean, theoretically, this is a stretch, I know, but theoretically, if John Deere owns the tractor, not you, and you access the software without their approval, you're breaking the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act for unauthorized access of a computer.
Right. Now, just because they say that how do they say it here? Implied license for the life of the vehicle to operate the vehicle rather than you own it.
I think a court might have a different opinion about that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a definition that they're just throwing on there. That isn't, because if that is held up, if suddenly a court goes, oh yeah, we agree actually, well then that's everything. Well, that's all things. This bottle of water.
Even short of that, just the idea that software is moving into everything. If the Internet of Things and smart home takes off, as companies hope, you're going to have software controlling everything. And one of the nasty things that John Deere's doing, and by the way, passenger vehicles don't have most of these same problems. Passenger vehicles have dealt with enough of a strong independent repair infrastructure that there hasn't been this come to Jesus moment like there is with tractors. But they put a system in place that says, okay, something's wrong. We have the software that can tell you what's wrong, so you have to go to the dealer to find out what the software says is wrong. Then you might have to go back to get it repaired at a later date. I mean, can you imagine if that's the way the Internet of Things worked? Is like, ooh, the sensor went off in the basement. I'm going to have to pay the sensor maker to find out what it's saying is wrong. I don't know if it's too much humidity or mold or what.
I mean, I like the idea that the DRM argument has moved to large farm equipment. For some reason, I find that great on lots of weird levels, but at the same time, this has so many implications for people, and I really hope what they come down to is something like, all right, our industry evolved differently. The car industry got lucky. They have an infrastructure and a margin in each sale of each vehicle that allows for independent repair and allows for smaller shops with small owners who can fix your Honda and be authorized to do that or have the wherewithal and the parts and whatever. And they still can keep their margins good, and they can still make money per vehicle. That's great. But here in the farming world, we didn't do that. John Deere did not put enough padding into whatever they're making them per tractor to accommodate for the possibility of kind of this third-party approach, whether it be users or it be smaller shops. So can they just be transparent and say, here's how much we make per tractor? That big thresher you bought, that's how much we're going to make. That's how much we currently make. If this is to work, we're going to have to charge this much more, and then farmers can go, okay, we understand. The margins are terrible, so bump that up. Now everyone's good.
Although,
no one's that transparent.
That's a great idea, but it doesn't help the local dealer.
Yeah.
It doesn't help Bob, who's been a great friend, happens to be an authorized dealer. Why should he get punished? I mean, and that is a fair concern about this, is to say, like, well, wait a minute, will this undermine these local dealer shops that aren't part of the big company, but they're authorized by them?
Right. Well, all I know is I don't own a tractor. I am super dumb when it comes to this kind of stuff. I would love it if a listener out there somewhere is listening to DTNS
got him. Yeah.
in his tractor right now and wants to totally key in on this. And I know you've gotten calls and stuff about some of this stuff before, but somebody who's really affected by this, I would love to hear that point of view, because I still feel like I am biased toward the end user in this case, which is the farmer, and I don't know enough, I guess, to give the other sides more credit, and it just feels like a ripoff to me.
Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. We don't care if you're in an international harvester, although it's probably really old at this point. So, or I could make my other farming joke. Nothing runs up your bill like a Deere.
Oh, nice.
Hey, let's get to some messages of the day. Agent the B-Man wrote in response to me giving voice to some people like, well, Pokemon Go is not really augmented reality. You should stop calling it augmented reality. It's not true augmented reality. Agent the B-Man says, I disagree with people saying Pokemon Go isn't augmented reality. It isn't AR at its fullest, but it is augmenting reality. Ingress is too. It's putting digital things into the real world. Pokemon, gyms, portals, etc. Just not all of them are visual. Even with the AR switch turned off in Pokemon Go, it's still an augmented reality game, in my opinion. It's just not your visual reality. It's your physical reality.
Yeah, yes, I completely agree with this. And the standard is not to say, well, let's go from what Magic Leap promises or what HoloLens currently delivers as our new standard for what everything should be when it comes to AR. You could be the minorest of things. I can sort of see a thing on my phone that isn't really there in real life, but because I'm positionally here, it's telling me it's there. That is enough to call it augmented reality. It's enough to see a Pidgey sitting on your plate at dinner and capturing it to call it augmented reality. I absolutely agree with Agent the B-Man.
We also talked about the 10 terabyte drive from Seagate yesterday, and I, mentioned my predilection for wanting to store all my data on my laptop hard drive, and hoping those 10 terabyte drives come to the laptop soon. Bill Burlingame from Huntsville is a man after my own heart. He writes, I have four 4 terabyte plus drives. One of those drives is nearing capacity with recordings of old movies, and I don't have a spare drive to back them up. The other drives are also used for video recordings and for backups.
Oof. Yeah, if you're getting that full, I don't know. I'm not near to that. I think I've got probably 8 terabytes right now that I have access to, and I'm maybe using 4. But I can't even believe I'm using 4. So as much as I say I can't believe he's filled up that many 4 terabyte drives, it's probably just a matter of time for us.
I think it's a really interesting question. Like, when do we hit the level of storage that we no longer catch up with? And I feel like storage is getting a little bit farther ahead of us than it used to be, and it was slowed down by the switch to solid state. But frankly, it's now at that stage where I remember taking all of the folders off of my HP Pavilion and putting them on a new computer in a folder and being like, maybe I shouldn't keep all this stuff because I have all of my floppy disks copied in here, and it's taken up a big section of the hard drive, but I kind of want to keep this stuff. That folder still exists and is just like, if I do disk inventory X, it's like the barest little half of a box on there. And It's become like, well, I've got all these Dropbox files. I've got like 500 gigabytes of Dropbox files, and I kind of want to keep them locally cached all the time just as a backup. So I need a terabyte hard drive because I got other things going on as well with apps and everything. And so I feel like myself maximizing the amount of space I have on my hard drive, and then maybe I can afford a 2 terabyte next time. And then how long will it be before 4K video comes along and I start filling up that drive? But it seems like I'm able to last on a particular level of storage longer than I used to.
I totally agree with that, but I'm also, I think, a little bit opposite of you. I found myself drifting away from worrying about space as much, and I think
most people have, I think.
Well, yeah, and I think so too. I think it's a general trend. Well, why is that? Well, I used to worry about how much space my music would take. I don't anymore because I use streaming services, and that's it. That's how I get my music. I don't care about having MP3s anymore locally on a drive. The only exception would be show stuff or something like that. But when I'm just wanting to listen to, Led Zeppelin, I will stream it. That's also true of, apps and software installs. I'm using Google Docs for nearly everything I would ever have used Office for. And while people are still using Office, a lot of them are using Office 365, and that's.
Right. I mean, you download your Google Docs locally as a backup, right?
Yeah, I do. I have that, all part of Google Drive. But all of that being said, it just feels like my footprint has lightened.
Yeah.
And I don't think about it nearly as much as I used to. I used to constantly just think about it all the time. And now
I used to always be going through and like weeding out temp files and things to free up storage. Now I do that maybe once a year. It used to be once every quarter.
Yeah, I'd even argue it was maybe monthly for me because it seemed like I was always running out.
At a certain point it certainly was for me.
The only exception for me is my gaming PC where, again, everything's digital and we're pulling from the cloud, but we're not. The cloud isn't where it lives. It still lives on hard drives. So I tend to fill that thing up way too fast. Outside of that, though, like just kind of productivity-wise, that's getting smaller and smaller. And also, we're using desktops less, and it's tablets, phones, and notebooks. And I don't know. I feel like I have moved with that trend. I don't know the last time I bought a disc for anything, including DVDs, maybe a Blu-ray here and there.
And I have network-attached storage. If I was smart, I would just take all the cold storage stuff and put it on network-attached storage, and that would be the end of it. And I can always get it when I need it. But I don't know. There's something about just having it on the laptop.
I agree. There's that, and then there's that time, like even me, I'll be doing something and go, oh, I wish I had that file right here.
Yeah, right.
And it sucks that we can't. Maybe we'll get to a point where we'll have some quantum leap in storage, and it won't matter. It'll be the cloud is us. We are the cloud. The cloud's everywhere. It's on our drive. It's whatever it is, and it's all accessible all the time. I don't know what that technology is. We'll save that for a forecast segment on Current Geek one week, but that's the utopia where we just don't have to worry about megabytes anymore. It's just stuff that's there. I look forward to that.
Well, that is it for this episode of the Daily Tech News Show. Scott Johnson, thank you so much. Where else can we find your fine mind at work?
Well, I have exciting news for those in the world who might be interested in the esports scene out there. That would be competitive video game tournaments, cons, and the games themselves. Turner Broadcasting, who owns the Bleacher Report, is launching a whole new initiative surrounding esports. And a big part of it is a brand new show called Rally Point, which you can find at bleacherreport.com/esports, that will start in a couple of weeks, about a week and a half. And it stars myself, Seven, and Brian Huff, who a lot of you may know already. Used to be somebody I worked with on a little show called The Creep back in the day. Both he and I and Seven will be doing this show twice a week. It will be for the Bleacher Report, be part of their app, also a podcast you can get anywhere you want to get it, and it will be an in-depth look at esports. Not only that, interviews with big shots in the world of esports, including players, developers, and everything in between. So very much looking forward to that big new project. Again, that's Rally Point. You can find it at bleacherreport.com/esports.
Check it out. Thanks, everyone who supports this show. It's value for value. We stole the model from John Dvorak and Adam Curry. If you get value out of the show, we just ask you to give that value back. dailytechnewsshow.com/support or patreon.com/DTNS to support the show. If you want to cut the cord in 3 steps, I've got a quick guide to do so. It's an ebook. It'll cost you 99 cents. You can find it at tommerrittbooks.com. It's called A Brief Guide to Cord Cutting. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Chris Ashley as our guest. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.
Yeah. That was a good show.
That was a good show. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
It was smooth and crisp and
creamy.
Creamy. It was all those things.
It's like Jif.
It was like Jif. Oh, I like Jif.
You know, Jif has they call it Jif, not Jif Light, Jif Natural, Jif Simple, Jif Simple, and it's got like a low number of ingredients. So it's just peanuts, oil, and salt. And I think there might be one other ingredient. Does the oil rise to the top kind of thing? No, it's not that. It's not like that.
It's not that natural.
It's not quite that natural. They have some kind of stabilizing agent. And that's the 4th ingredient that I can't remember. But
gotcha.
It's not like they used to be where there's like dozens of hard to pronounce names in it.
You're right. I'm into that.
Well, a lot of that was to...
Hippie Natural, I think, is their equivalent of that. Sorry, Roger, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. A lot of those extra ingredients were to give the consistency throughout the entire jar.
Yeah, stop it from separating and stuff. Yep. Yeah, I actually buy a natural peanut butter that it's kind of a pain because you have to stir it up at first, but it's so good. And Adams? It just has peanut butter and salt. That's it.
Wow, I could do that.
Yeah.
That sounds real good right now. I like this #1 voted one right now, John DRM. DRM, it should be probably. But
there's John Deere harvesting profits through DRM. No scyther for you, Japan. Not sure.
Oh, it's Pokemon reference.
Oh, got it.
Too big. Not bad.
See, DMCA, Deere making copyright assumed.
Double standards.
John DRM. John Deere in the headlights. Farmers want Dear John letter with John Deere.
I like
Dear John, let me fix my own tractor.
How about tractor hackers versus contractors?
Not bad.
It's poetic.
I like this long one. You'll never use it, but I like Microsoft is completely French. No offense, Patrick.
Microsoft is completely French.
This is some comment I made about what was it? Oh, I said all these is like IBM stuff where they're all like common consumers have no idea what they're talking about, and I said it's all French to them, and then no offense.
Yes, right. Okay, gotcha.
But I don't know. I like the sound of it. Farmers demand the right to fix their own dang tractors. That is to the point. It's a good one. Mick Pikachu.
John Deere RM is winning.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
My only concern is I wonder what our title was the last time we talked about John Deere when they sent the actual letter to the Copyright Office. It might have been John Deere RM. It might not have been. I have no idea. But barring any definitive proof of that,
it's pretty good.
I'm going to go with John Deere RM.
John Deere Hackt0rz.
Hackt0rz. Oh, that's really good too.
I made that up.
Hackt0rz.
John Deere Hackt0rz.
It's such a dad joke, though.
Like HACTERS.
Tractors, but with hack in the front.
Yeah.
John Deere Hackt0rz with a 0 and a Z.
That's
like John Deere can't be the only one that makes agricultural tractors.
No, they're not.
They're the big one, though. Hell, there's a skin in Overwatch where Junkrat skin is based on a John Deere tractor.
Oh, and by the way, Peds, thank you for doing the footwork for us. DTNS 2476, John DRM.
Ah!
So there you go. So
Okay.
John Deere Hackt0rz it is.
All right. All right. I'll take credit for that one.
It's pretty late, says TVZ Gun. It's pretty late. Hackt0rz.
AGCO and case tractors. I know nothing of agricultural equipment other than like the combines and stuff they used to weld for FFA. Yeah, Future Farmers. Yeah, Future FFA.
That Pidgey on your plate
and I gave Peds the credit because he was the first one I saw, but I'm seeing the BioCow and another Jay Martin also dug it up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
W. Scottus 1 found it. I think W. Scottus 1 might have found it first. In the DC TVpedia.
That's right.
Fantastic.
TVZ gone. A Pidgey in your plate is worth 2 in the HoloLens. I agree with you.
So true. So true. As my daddy used to say.
Yeah, it was that old chestnut.
Yeah.
Chestnuts. Chestnut butter.
Pidgeys roasting on an open.
Actually, have you ever tried almond butter? That's pretty good.
We have some. So good. You know what's good? There's a banana with almond butter on it.
I mean, it's just peanut butter, but made with almonds, though, right?
Yeah.
Like it's got a different taste. I get that. It's not necessarily better for you or anything.
No.
But it's an actual nut as opposed to a peanut.
Which is a legume.
Yeah.
A legume.
Basically a bean. Jimmy Carter was basically a bean farmer.
George Washington Carver
did not. Oh, what did he do? He invented.
He gets credit for all the peanut stuff.
Except for peanut butter. Peanut butter existed before he was born.
Oh, Roger, that's racist.
And he said, well, if peanut butter can be made, I'm going to make all this other stuff.
Yeah. He made what do you call the needle on a wax cylinder thingy? Stylus. Or something. Out of peanuts.
You did?
Maybe a peanut shell.
You did? Really?
Yeah.
Nutella is hazelnuts,
yeah.
But it's also delicious because they put chocolate in it.
Yeah.
Like, why don't more people put chocolate in things?
Because then it wouldn't be really healthy for you. I mean,
right?
You could put it...
Why? Chocolate isn't bad for you. It's good for you.
Well, chocolate... Have you tried raw chocolate without the sugar and all the other stuff?
I like 85, 90% chocolate, though.
I don't. Well, then eat mole. Eat lots of mole.
I'm gonna.
And besides, the sugar is in there whether you've added chocolate or not.
It's a good point. So I went upstairs right before the show. This is embarrassing, but I'm going to admit it. I took a fork, and I gouged a big hunk of peanut butter out with that fork, and then went into the Nutella thing and gouged an equal portion of Nutella.
You're a professional.
On the same fork, and then I ate that before we did the show.
I was gonna be like, I'm right there with you, brother, because I have that jar of peanut butter that's just peanuts and salt.
Yeah.
And it's delicious. I don't know what they do to make it work, but they make it work great. You don't need any sugar in it.
Yeah.
And I will sometimes just go grab a spoonful of that, like just to get me by as a
Great.
snack. But man, putting the Nutella on top, that's a pro tip right there.
I don't like Nutella.
Like a Reese's fork is what I made.
I never understood the fascination. It's not
More
that
for us.
Good. Good. You carry the type 2 diabetes.
I'll carry the type N.
I ran this morning. I justified it. Doesn't mean I'm
justified.
I justified it.
Thank you, Raylan.
Oh man, I missed that show.
It was in the glass the whole time. It was all right. She says it was already in the glass.
You talk to an a-hole one day, he's the a-hole. If you talk to nothing but a-holes all day, you're the a-hole.
So what if your job is to just talk to a-holes all day?
What are you trying to say, Roger?
Right?
I know.
That was funny. Well done.
Are you an a-hole for trying to provide for your family? A roof over their heads?
Seriously, right? I got dogs to feed.
Food in their bellies.
I got to put food in there that isn't fast food. That doesn't have
Nutella
for it.
Yeah. Isn't Nutella on a stick?
I'm amazed they haven't had a Mick Nutella. Don't they have a... Wait, which is the fast food restaurant that has a sriracha burger?
Burger King?
I think. I could be wrong about that. That might be Carl's Jr.
I'm amazed no one has done a Nutella product.
I bet they have. We're just either forgetting it or missed it.
Nutella Sundae.
I remember when I thought Nutella was this great foreign substance of intrigue. Like it wasn't anything you could buy in America. It was
exotic.
Yeah.
It was like it's gone the same route as Toblerone.
Yeah.
Right? It was like, ooh, a Toblerone. Now they're everywhere.
Yeah, man, they're kind of terrible. I don't like Toblerone.
I like Toblerone okay, but they're not as good as I thought they were.
Yeah.
You liked it because they were like, ooh, exotic.
Yeah,
it's triangular.
Yeah, and there was a mystique to them, like, oh, fancy British people eat these on steeds or whatever.
Steeds? Like horses?
They're needed.
No, the only one I really always hankered after was the Cadbury bar with the raisins in it.
Oh, yeah.
I still love those.
I like Arrows, too.
And British or Canadian Kit Kats. Like, I don't like the way American Kit Kats are gross.
Well, it's two different companies, right?
Yes.
Kit Kats domestically are one company, and all the rest of the Kit Kats in the world are
But American Kit Kats used to taste like the British, or at least very similar.
Well, it's corn syrup versus sugar, right? Isn't that the main difference?
They changed the formula around the mid late 90s or something, and they just got like, you know, where you leave it in the car, it just melts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't stand that.
Well, SoundCloud's take a little longer today. It misses the morning stream, so it's depressed.
I had to put up a different show, and I noticed that too. I thought it was still my internet, but it was pretty slow.
No, it's the processing. It uploaded fine. It's just taking a while to process.
Get that one.
Because, you know, they go through and they look for negative mentions of SoundCloud, and they remove them from your audio.
Now what's going on? Did you notice?
Sure.
Did you notice it now pulls the album art out of your ID3 tag, you know, embedded stuff in the MP3 and uses it so you don't have to upload art?
No.
Mine's doing that now.
Mine's not doing that because I've forgotten to upload the art a couple times, and it put the wrong. It took my album art from the account and put it in. And I'm like, no, Daily Tech Headlines doesn't want to have a DTNS logo in there, you dummy.
Yeah, it's pulling. So I did it again just to test it. It's pulling, like I just put hypothetical help in. It's pulling the art from the MP3. And I love that.
That's pretty nice. I don't know.
It's only a couple clicks, but
I
still.
don't know why that's not happening.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm so blessed today.
Also, my Snapchat didn't get the Bitmojis either.
Oh.
Even though it got updated.
GNC or RNC?
Yeah, one of those NCs.
LNC,
GNC.
Can't stop saying GNC.
It's that nutrition place, GNC.
Why I keep doing that? The grand old.
It's a grand old C. It's a high fly.
It's the I get GOP and RNC mixed together. That's what it is.
Well, those are the same.
Yeah.
Grand old party and Republican National.
Yeah, but I think that's where I get the G and the R.
Ah, got it.
GNC ROP. You know me. Who's down with OPP?
RNC. Or put DNC if that's how you feel. It's fine.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know where did that donkey come from. I'm just trying. I don't remember. I remember the
I used to know this. I looked it up. I can't remember anymore.
I don't know. It's my favorite thing you've ever asked me, though. Where did this donkey come from?
Yeah, where did the donkey come from?
What the heck?
What is it doing in there?
Weird.
Now the link isn't showing up in the RSS feed.
RSS.
Hey.
Not the best thing.
Come on, link.
Too bad. Also, links are slow. Yeah. My file I just put uploaded quick. It was about 35-minute hypothetical help file, but it's.
Yeah, the processing took forever, and now it's taking forever to show up in the RSS.
You can always tell when they're having a weird day.
Today it was a bad day. Kong.
I've been watching Justin earlier. He was in his Charmander suit, but at the same time giving some of the most intelligent, well-articulated commentary that, and he does that. He's really good at that. He does it on this show. Like Jury's, people think, oh, he's this smack-talking night attack man, but you get him in
Which he can be.
Oh, he sure can be. But you get him up there, talking about real stuff like that, and suddenly it's like this, whoa, he sounds like he knows more than this other CNN guy I just heard, and often does. But hearing him do that while he's in the Charmander suit is just about the most weird thing I've seen today.
I know. I would not be able to pull that off, I don't think.
I couldn't do it. There's no way.
I'd be so aware that I was in a Charmander suit the whole time.
Yeah, he's uniquely qualified to do it. Also, it's hot in Cleveland and gross. So
yeah, I hope that the dry cleaning bill for that Charmander suit is reasonable.
I thought he owned that.
He does. I think he bought it.
Okay.
Yeah. He's going all in on this Pokemon Go thing, hoping that the trend will support his ability to wear that at public places.
Okay, finally showed up. I think we're fully published.
Yay.
I hope you don't have to run too soon, Scott, because after this, I just wanted to hit you up for like 2 minutes.
You're totally fine.
Yeah, let's get off the stream. Thanks everybody for watching or listening. You guys are the best. We'll see you tomorrow with Chris Ashley. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.